Next claim. Feminism has ruined gender dynamics. This is an interesting one. So basically, it's this idea that feminism has led women to become entitled, masculine, disrespectful towards traditional male roles and positions, that women are now doing things that only men should do. And, feminism won the battle a long time ago, and now they're just greedy and they're taking everything they can, which I agree with to some extent, at least the hardcore feminists. They blame feminism for the rise in female promiscuity. They talk about body counts all the time, don't they? They think that's a very big deal. The rise in divorce, and it's true, feminism has increased divorce because now women don't stay if they don't want to. And of course, what they call the decline of femininity. So they think that, women are just becoming more masculine, basically. We're not getting that nice feminine, barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, give you a blowjob anytime you want kind of woman that they think actually exists. So, let's have a look at this one because I'm actually not a big fan of feminism. I basically see feminism and red pill as opposite ends of a spectrum, and both ends are crazy, and that sanity is somewhere in the middle. So, in a way, we see eye to eye on the idea that feminism is, the way it's practiced these days is unhealthy and unhelpful. Agreed. I agree that women in Western countries do have full legal rights that are equivalent to men, that there is nothing that they're not allowed to do that that a man is. So I don't know what the legal complaints are. But I also agree with feminists that you're most likely to be raped by a man, you're most likely to be sexually abused by a man, that even though men are also abused and hit, it's by other men for the most part, that a man is way more of a threat to a woman than vice versa. Absolutely think that. Now, I've got to be tentative around the science around this because, in my opinion, I do believe that many scientific fields have been infiltrated by the kind of diversity hype, and that we're getting some studies that aren't quite legit coming out. And it's hard to tell what effect feminism really has because it all comes out as positive, and it just seems a little bit sycophantic to me. But basically, what it says is that a man who has what you might call feminist views, and that he likes women, thinks that they deserve equal rights, treats them with respect, that kind of thing. Generally, they're going to have healthier sex lives, more respectful partnerships. And while what I do is I take away the word feminism and just say love of women. Okay, I'd say men who love women, not misogynists, but not like nice guy pseudo male feminists who worship women, but a man who thinks of a woman as valuable as himself, an equal. That guy's going to do well with women, really well, and not just pick up the deranged drug addict at the nightclub well, but like women are going to adore this man, recommend him to their friends, want him to meet their family. Like kindness actually scores very high in attraction factors when you look at proper science. It doesn't mean that you go too far the other way, that the woman makes all the decisions. This is what a nice guy will do. He'll become like an uber feminist, where like he lets the woman have everything she wants. She makes all the decisions. She has to initiate sex every time. I do believe that like you need some roles in the relationship. It doesn't mean you need to always follow traditional roles, but you need to find the dynamic that works between the two of you. Somebody's got to be masculine, someone's got to be feminine. You don't both have to stay that way the whole time, but in context, one needs to be one and the other needs to be the other. You might get a guy who's really dominant in the bedroom, but the wife is really dominant when it comes to choosing how to parent the child. Or you might get the guy who does the outside work and the girl does the inside work for the house, or the other way around, right? You might get the girl as the breadwinner and the guy raises the children. That's fine. Just look at Bluey. That's a great example of that. It doesn't matter as long as there's that dynamic of masculine and feminine so that there's a kind of completeness of all the traits we need for a healthy psyche for all the people in the house. That's what I believe anyway. I do believe that the hardcore version of feminism is harmful in the same way that I believe that red pill is harmful, is that this cherry-picked loud voices of the most kind of devoted, most dogmatic people on either side of the fence, drowning out the more rational voices somewhere in the middle that are more nuanced and wise. Claim number 8, women are not capable of loving men unconditionally. This is a big one. He did that special shortly after getting divorced, so we can see where his mind was at the time of saying something like that. This is, in my opinion, probably the least accurate belief in red pill ideology. So what the belief really says is that a woman's love is always conditional on a man's status, his power, his ability to provide, these kind of like measurements of value. And they often contrast this with like a man will love a woman no matter what she is. So they'll always say they'll have their OnlyFans prostitutes in the podcast, and they'll say, would you date a man who's under 6 foot and doesn't earn 100 grand? And oh my God, I never would because I'm one of the worst, most damaged kind of women there are. But you only interview me, and then they'll go, well, I would go out with a girl even if she was working at McDonald's as long as she's hot, right? Like as if they're these noble people and that female love is transactional and men are just unconditionally loving. I don't know why anyone buys this argument. It's got to be the most flawed. Firstly, unconditional love is rare for many relationships. Man, woman, woman, man, woman, woman, man, man, parent, child. There's very few people on this planet, I think, who are capable of unconditional love. But if anyone is, it's probably a mother to her child. The science says that it's all about attachment theory, that if you can have a secure attachment, then you can love unconditionally. But most people don't. Most men and women don't. Romantic love is built on mutual respect, trust, effort, and it's got nothing to do with gender. This is what the science says. Basically, love becomes transactional when you don't know how to love, when you're needy or controlling and obsessive and possessive. Then it's going to be based on you've got to give me what I need for me to love you. Most of us, or many of us, were raised like that. You had to earn love from your parents, that you'd lose love if you disappointed them. We came to equate love and approval as being the same thing, which is devastating. And this is where my heart breaks for red pill followers, is because if they believe this, it tells me a lot about what their childhood was like, that they were not loved unconditionally, that they don't know what it's like to be loved unconditionally. And it's heartbreaking to think that there are people who are going to go their whole lives without having that experience because I think it might be the best experience you can have to be loved unconditionally. I can't think of something that's probably more satisfying and gives life more meaning than that. And to give that love unconditionally as well. To be able to love someone and know, like, no matter what they did, the love wouldn't change. To know that I could disapprove of their behavior, but it wouldn't hurt the love that I have for them. To have that kind of love for someone, very rare. So it's not so much that women are incapable of loving men unconditionally, it's more like humans find it very hard to engage in unconditional love in general. And so if you only look at one group, you're going to think that that group has a problem with it. But then you look at the other group and like, not so good either. I mean, these guys who will often be arguing with a woman on one of these red pill podcasts saying, oh, you only love a guy if he's this, that, and the other. That same guy within minutes of this will also make a claim that his woman has to be feminine and she has to like be a peaceful person and she has to love sucking his dick and she has to be hot. It's like, well, you got conditions too, bruh. So, it's a bit of the pot calling the kettle fucking incapable of unconditional love, isn't it? This is a really hard one for people. I feel for them and I think, there's no higher pursuit in life than to learn how to achieve this. And I think the way to achieve it, as talked about when you look into things like a secure attachment style, is you have to make it that you don't need anything from anyone else. And I don't mean the materialistic shit. If you're still focused on the materialistic shit, you got problems. But even the more deeper stuff, meaning in life, sense of fulfillment with who you are as a person, loneliness, these are problems you solve by yourself, not with another person. It's not somebody else's job to provide for those needs. You need to be getting into some sort of philosophy. You need to be practicing valued living, looking into your integrity. You need to find a way to have a good relationship with yourself so that you don't need someone else to do it. And then you go and find someone else from that place and you can love them for free. And because you'll be so healthy, you'll only find other people who are like that or who are almost like that, and they'll get that last little booster from you. There's nothing wrong with having an interdependence with your partner where you support each other and lean on each other. but you can't have it where if they step away, you fall down. Claim number 9, red pill is the only path to male freedom. Classic Andrew Tate line, escape the matrix. You know, the red pill is the waking up, seeing the truth of society, the lies about romance, monogamy, equality, and it's a harsh truth that will set you free. And, you know, the blue pill delusion of romantic idealism from Disney is the matrix that you're plugged in, you don't know. It's a great sell if you're somebody who profits off the red pill ideology. Hey guys, making some cash over there on those podcasts, aren't you? Well, it's just not true. Scientifically, it's untrue. All the major studies that have looked into the well-being of people who follow manospheric type beliefs find that they are largely paranoid, misogynistic, emotionally isolated, poorer mental health, poor relationship outcomes. They just don't do very well. Now, some of them do succeed in a materialistic sense. They get laid a lot. They might dominate their wife and totally control their household. But if I was to run them through some mental health scan, they would come out looking pretty grim. I don't know what the best path is for quality of life. I know what I've found and I believe in it. I'm not saying that I'm the only person who's found the right thing. I think there are many paths. I just don't think red pill is one of them. I mean, red pill essentially comes from a place of fear and paranoia and hate. I don't know how that could lead to the best possible outcomes. I don't know why you draw a conclusion that a place that's so full, like if you've ever watched one of their podcasts, especially those group ones where it's like there's the dudes who think they're alphas, and then there's the prostitutes they brought in to represent all women and so on. You just watch it, you're like, God, you guys are so fucking bitter. You're so hate-filled. You take triumph over every time you score a point on a woman, you make her feel bad. You're like, haha, celebrating. Like, what kind of person, what kind of personality enjoys degrading as somebody else? Like, how poorly must you be doing if you get your jollies over making women look bad? That can't be the best path. That can't be like the most enlightened, most truthful path to a high quality of life. And that's who this podcast is really for, is the people who have been into red pill stuff. Just to get you to stop and ask yourself, how's it going? How's your mental health? How's your confidence? How's your satisfaction with life? How healthy are your relationships? Has your career taken off? Are you doing well? If you are, great. Stop listening to me. Keep doing what you're doing. If not, maybe this shit doesn't work. I often think of it like those pyramid schemes. You know, there's like the top 3% are super rich and everyone else is actually poor and nobody wants to talk about it. All those multi-level marketing schemes. Red Pill's like that. The guys running the podcast and all that, they seem to be doing well. They're not, but they seem to be. And then everyone else below them is trying to get up to that position while they're actually ignoring the fact that they're struggling and suffering and nothing's really working out for them. I used to see that when I was deep in the pickup artist thing. You know, there was a few of us who did well with women, and there were thousands of others who didn't, all using the same systems. And we tell them, oh, you're doing it wrong. And it's really like, well, maybe the system isn't very good. I truly believe that freedom comes from authenticity and integrity, from developing psychological flexibility, emotional resilience, secure attachment style, in other words, self-confidence. It's not about control or fear. It's not about hate. I'm not going to say something cheesy that it's about love. I'd say it's more about mental stability. It's about figuring out who you are, who you should be, holding yourself to account to live by that, to have those values and to live according to them, to constantly impress yourself with your behavior, not your results, but your behavior, to be the person you wish people would be, right? To set the example, to be the role model, not to be attached and needy to other people, to need their approval and validation to determine if you're a good person, to prove you're a good person by shagging the hottest girl and bragging about to your mates. That's not a person doing well. That's a very damaged person who's doing very poorly. Now, 10th belief that I'm just going to address real quickly is the idea all women are the same. I don't even need to look at the science for this one. It's one of the most ridiculous claims ever. What you'll notice if you ever hear a red pillar speaking about men and women, they don't even use the word all anymore, even though they have an acronym, AWATS, all women are the same. That's how like that much they believe in it. They've got an acronym for it. But it's more they'll just say men are, women are. They just beg the question of nuance, of context, anything like that. They don't say some women are. They don't even say most women. A lot of the time, they just say woman, which is one of the most ridiculous things. And it tells you just how untrustworthy all of their beliefs around relationships and dynamics between men and women must be, because how blind and vague and cherry-picked and biased your belief system has to be to think that you can clump an entire gender, billions of people, into a group and say they're all basically the same. It is ridiculous. There are women out there who are mechanics, there are others who are ballerinas. There are women out there who only date black guys, there are women out there who only date white guys. There are women out there really caring and empathetic and soft, and there are women out there fighting in the UFC. There are so many variations that no two are exactly the same, that they all have slightly different preferences, slightly different tendencies. And yes, you can cluster them into groups and come up with averages and tendencies that seem to be this and that, but what about all the exceptions? Let's say you get a study that says 77% of women are X. You're like, okay, it's an accurate study. Then another one says 60% of women are Y. And you're like, oh, okay, very good. Well, what happens when you get both of those groups of women together? How many of the 70 are in the 40 and the 60 and the... And then you add another study and another. Here's a little mental experiment you can do. Imagine you got a room full of 100 women. Get them all to stand up. And then you just start yelling out traits and they have to sit down every time they don't have that trait. Right? So you really nurturing. A few of them sit down. The rest still nurturing, so they stand up. And then you go sexually promiscuous, and a few more sit down, assuming they're honest, and the rest standing up. How many traits would you need to call out before they're all sitting down? Do you think that you could yell all day different traits and the whole room would just stay standing? That they'd all be the same? Nah. It wouldn't take long before you had eliminated everyone, that there would be no woman in there that has all the so-called female traits. And you do the same thing with men. And in fact, you could mix the group with men and women, call out random traits that are masculine and feminine, and a mixture of men and women would sit down. That there'd be men with lots of feminine traits and there'd be women with lots of masculine traits and so on. The idea that everyone's the same is such an irresponsible and frankly stupid view of the world that anybody who has the view, the AWAT's view, cannot be trusted with anything else they say about evolutionary psychology, neuroscience, social dynamics. Because nobody with like a wise view of humanity and neurology would ever have such a strong bias like that. They'd say it depends on this, it depends on that. Which woman are you talking about specifically? So on and so forth. So the fact that they constantly do this throughout all of their literature, all of their videos, all of their Reddit posts, tells you that, like, if that's the foundation of their belief system, then all the rest must be significantly flawed. So, I expect to get some hate on this one, but, you know, what else would you expect from such a healthy ideology? I put this out there because if you actually take the blinders off and have a look for yourself, you don't need to listen to me, go look for yourself. Get ChatGPT out and say, this is what I believe because of red pill, prove me wrong, and see what comes up and actually have a look into what comes up. Psychological flexibility. Get a bit more resilient with your beliefs. Allow yourself to be a bit more nuanced, a bit wiser, more intelligent. Because the key thing I want to end with, the question I want you guys to ask yourselves is, if red pill is true, if it really is revealing the matrix, then how come following it doesn't work for most people? How come it doesn't improve their quality of life? Thank you so much for listening. I hope to make this the last thing I ever talk about when it comes to red pill. I want to focus on just healthier approaches. But now that I've put this out there, I can shut up about it.